Ashaiman to assess last week's military brutalities against civilians. Details of that in a jiffy. And we'll be taking a quick trip to the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi, where operators of Kejetia Market in Kumasi shut down their facilities after Wednesday evening's fire. We'll bring you an update regarding traders who have started counting their losses. And elsewhere on the international front, Nigeria to hold its first census in 17 years later in May. Thank you for staying with us. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. We're also streaming live around the world on 3news.com. That's our website, and also on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. This afternoon, the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament is on a fact-finding mission to Ashaiman to ascertain at first hand information on the military brutalities that occurred last week. The committee last week could not immediately visit the area, as they said that the police and the Ghana Armed Forces personnel were already conducting investigations into the subject. We will be engaging our reporter who is in Ashaiman, but first, here is a news desk report on happenings at Ashaiman over the last few days.
Residents of Ashaiman, Tulaku and Taifa were left brutalized and traumatized after the invasion of the area by military personnel on the dawn of March 7. The military personnel stormed the area after stabbing to death of a young military trooper, Imoro Sharif. In the process, 184 persons were arrested, although they have all now been released. The Ghana Armed Forces in a statement justify the operation, adding it was officials criminals involved in the killing. Following the brutalities, the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, which has supervisory oversight of the security sector, said members will be in Ashaiman the following week, Thursday, March 16, to assess the situation. The committee took the decision not to visit the area last week, as at the time police and Ghana Armed Forces were undertaking their investigations.
We, as members of the committee, cannot inflame passions by going there to make comments that will annoy a faction. We are not to do that. Our mission is to make sure we have peace in this country. The unfortunate incident that happened, we have all condemned it. And Minister has even apologized on behalf of the military that they admit that they were excesses.
Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul, who also addressed the media, warned against antagonizing members of the security services.
Incidents like this in the life of the country do happen. We are shaping up a country, and we are going to have some of these incidents, regrettable incidences happening there. But I will still appeal to the people of Ghana to be very respectful of people in uniform. It will help all of us. But we cannot say, I will not say anything until the committee itself and us have gone on Thursday to the place and visited the place to ascertain for ourselves.
The military brutalities have been condemned by a large section of Ghanaians as well as some groups.
Every single action that we take on behalf of the state now must ask this fundamental question. Will that action contribute to creating a more vulnerable space within which our enemies will act? And right now, there's no doubt in my mind that were any extremist groups to come and to recruit, people will say, yes, we want to strike a blow against the state.
All right, so now let's swing straight to Ashaiman, where my colleague Judith Awachitando has been engaging and monitoring the Defense and Interior Committee's engagement with the citizens and some persons who were affected by last week's brutalities. She's joined us via Zoom for a quick chat on this. Judith, good afternoon. What can you report? Hello, Judith. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Martin.
Great, great. So I'm asking that, how long has it been since the committee arrived? What kind of engagements have they had?
Right, so we're currently at the Pentecost Church here in the Sherman official town, where the Defense and Interior Committee, as well as the Military High Command, is meeting with some residents of Sherman to speak about the issues that have happened over the past few weeks. Now, earlier we were at the residence of the late Imoro Sharif, where his mother, his little brother, his father, as well as the rest of the family were meeting with the Defense Committee. And yes, the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Kennedy Ejapon, assured the family that he will be sponsoring the education of the young brother of Imoro Sharif, the late Imoro Sharif, till he gets to the tertiary level. So he will be sponsoring till the tertiary level his education, of which the family was very grateful to him. He also promised that he will be building an astroturf, right, in the community of Ashaman, of which will be named after the late Imoro Sharif. And so these are some of the details. Of course, the defense minister as well, that is Dominic Nitiwo, was also at the premises of the late Imoro Sharif, and he was consoling the family as well on the issues that had happened. He said that the state will not sit aloof to allow such events to happen again. That's the killing of a soldier. Of course, he made mention of the death of a soldier, that's Major Mahama, some years ago, and he's saying that he would ensure that the state will not sit aloof to ensure another death of a soldier happens, of course, after this one. So these are some of the things that have been happening right here at the official town in Ashaman.
Right, and Judith, so that's the visit to the family of the late soldier. How about the victims of the brutalities? Have they also been engaged yet, or that is yet to happen?
Right, so that is what we have just reached this place to do. So we just got to the Pentecost Church here in Ashaman official town, and the meeting has just started. So we are yet to get some updates from what would happen out of that meeting. We'll bring you these updates in our subsequent bulletins. But yes, we are meeting currently with the residents of Ashaman and those who were brutalized as well.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Judith Awachitanda, for that quick report about the Defense and Interior Committee's meeting in Ashaman. Certainly in subsequent bulletins, you will be updated regarding what other promises will be made by the committee and the leadership of government who are there. At least we know that the family has been promised an astroturf that will be named after the slain soldier. And then also the fact that they will be taking his junior brother through education up until tertiary level. This is still Midday Live on TV3. Let's shift our attention to issues regarding the courts now. An Accra High Court has dismissed a defamation suit that was filed by investigative journalist Anas Arumeyaw Anas against the Asin Central Member of Parliament Ken Ejapon. Presiding Judge Eric Ba, while dismissing the case, awarded a 50,000 Ghana cedi cost against the journalist. Anas filed a 25 million cedi defamation suit against the Member of Parliament after his investigative work, Who Watches the Watchman, that accused the journalist of extortion, blackmail, corruption, and other crimes, and questioned the authenticity of his investigation style. We would want to interrogate what some of the findings of the report include or entail, and then also subjected to some analysis. Joining me in studio now is Sixtus Dong Ulo, who is a producer, 3FM Sunrise, and he has been reading through that 65-page judgment that was given by Judge Eric Ba, or Justice Eric Ba, I should say, and he's joined me in studio for a quick look into some of the what was the word? Some of the key highlights of the report or the judgment. Sixtus, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So, I mean, the conversation has already started. People are asking, is this an affront to the practice of journalism or investigative journalism? That can be set aside. But what are some of the key issues that you found from the judge's report?
Indeed, your observation, Martin, is right. Whether this is an affront to the practice of journalism, because it defines the kind of investigative journalism that we see, which has raised concerns in certain quarters, and with which some people have also celebrated. And so you tend to find a divided opinion on whether the kind of journalism that we see Anas Aremeyaw Anas practice should be allowed to continue. But yes, again, if you look at the judgment we have, 65 pages, a lot of reading for a lot of lawyers or people interested in this case. There are three things that Justice Eric Barr found, a Court of Appeal judge with additional responsibility. He found that the statements made by the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong against the journalist Anas Aremeyaw Anas were factual. They were true. That's the first finding he's made. He also found that even though the comments were made, they were factual. And on the basis that they were factual, they could not have been said to be defamatory. Now that takes us back to the beginning of the case. Let's see, what did Anas go to court with? The Asin Central Member of Parliament had spoken on media platforms, raised serious allegations against the investigative journalist. The investigative journalist went to court to say that these comments that were made on media platforms portrayed me in the light of the public as a murderer, as a self-confessed thief, as an instigator, a blackmailer, so many other words. And so he thought that the court should come to his aid, help him defend his reputation, which is what the tort of defamation is all about. That I have offended, you have injured your reputation, and I want the courts to help me restore that reputation. Now, the Asin Central Member of Parliament, in his defense, said that, yes, he made the comments, but the comments, to the best of his knowledge, were factual. They were truthful. And he gave instances where he, as part of his anti-corruption fight, promotion, in fact, he describes himself as an anti-corruption crusader. That's a Asin Central Member of Parliament. And he said that in the course of his work against corruption, he found that Anas Aremeyaw Anas was doing certain things that were untoward. He would do a piece about Martin and Sixtus. He would find Martin and Sixtus, culpable. And then he would present the piece to Martin and Sixtus. Martin and Sixtus would both see him on the side. Martin would pay something, and Sixtus would say, away with you. And because I would say away with him, then the journalist would decide to air my side of the story and leave out your side of the story.
So he was selective
in the publication of his investigations. That is what he told the court. And the court went into the matter. It had to look at whether indeed the words that the Asin Central Member of Parliament said about Anas could be defamatory. Whether, again, number two, they were defamatory. And whether in the instance that they were spoken, he was referring to, that the honorable member was referring to the journalist in those phrases. And if he was referring to the journalist, was he defaming the journalist? These are the parameters by which the court had to decide the case. So the court found that, yes, one, the honorable member for Asin Central, the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, he indeed said all the things he said to have said about the journalist, and he admitted that. Number two, even though he said them, they were factual. These are the findings of the court. And on the basis that they were factual, the court did not think that there was a case in defamation to be held against the Asin Central Member of Parliament.
And in concluding this, do we know what next all of this means for the likes of Anas? Have we heard whether or not they're likely to appeal?
Yes.
And could they appeal?
They could appeal, yes. Will they appeal? Yes. We have strong indication from sources close to the Anas team, legal team, that yes, they are preparing and would appeal. We are told that they are still waiting for a certified judgment, copy of the judgment, before they then filed the notice of appeal.
Sixtus, thank you so much. Sixtus Dong Ulo is a producer of Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7, and also here with our legal team, you know, trying to break down a number of these judgments that may be coming through. So do trust us, and you visit our website, 3news.com, you get further and better particulars regarding many of the stories we will be analyzing for you. Away from that, government is to expend 20 billion US dollars over a 15-year period to revamp and expand the railway sector. The new master plan, when commenced, will end in 2035. That's according to the Chief Executive Office of the Ghana Railway Development Authority.
Rail transport is active only from Accra to Tema in the Greater Accra region, despite expansion promises from government. Encroachers also have taken undue advantage of the ailing sector to put up structures on the land allocated for expansion. Despite these challenges, authorities continue to re-strategize. A 15-year master plan between now and 2035 has been drawn to improve rail lines. Currently, the 97-kilometer Tema in Pakadan is near completion. Other ongoing projects include an 80-kilometer railway line from the Takrady Port to Huni Valley through Takwa, and a 6-kilometer double lane from Kase to Edum in Kumasi.
Accra and Sawam is also on the map. We are in advanced stages of attracting investors to invest in the Accra to Sawam, and then from Sawam to Bosusu, and then all the way to Kumasi, to take advantage of the Boankra inland port. That has always been a project that we are trying to look into. But I cannot give you specific timelines as to when we can complete. As I mentioned, the Taman-Pakadan is almost ready to be commissioned. And then Takrady Port to Huni Valley, we have the funding. The goal is to get to Nsuta by 2024.
The Deputy Minister of Railway Development, Kweku Asante Boateng, blamed the delay in rail line construction on lack of prioritization of rail transport in the country.
When it comes to prioritize our needs, and we have health challenges, we have educational challenges, always the construction of rail is pushed to the background because it's not immediate. The importance of rail construction is remote in the sense that if we don't do it now, the direct effect is not there. But if we don't put money into health, the direct effect is now. We cannot defer it. Education, you cannot defer it.
He is confident the master plan would facilitate transportation.
Let's take a quick trip to Parliament, because the National Union of Ghana Students, NUGS, is appealing to government to uncap the GET Fund allocation. The students' body is asking the Ministry of Finance to stop implementing the GET Fund formula for this year, which will see only 39% of the GET Fund levy allocated to the fund. According to NUGS, the capping on GET Fund is denying the fund the needed resources to undertake education-related development across the country. The union and the Africa Education Watch on Thursday held a protest over the issue and presented a petition to the Education Committee in the House. And those images on your screens right now are from Parliament, where the members of NUGS and EduWatch lined up right in front of the premises of Parliament, holding placards that had several inscriptions having to do with the education system and asking for the GET Fund to be uncapped. Joining me in studio for a quick chat on this is my colleague Christian Yale, who has just returned from Parliament regarding this particular subject. Christian, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. What exactly is the crust of this petition and demonstration we are seeing from Parliament?
So recently there has been an issue about the disbursement of the student loans to beneficiaries. And also NUGS also makes another case about a number of schools that are lacking quality infrastructure, especially at the basic level. Okay. And they believe that because the GET Fund has been capped, there is not adequate funds released to support the delivery of quality education across the country, especially from the basic level up to the tertiary level. So they believe that the issue of capitation grant is there, lack of infrastructure. There are schools that are under trees as of today. Also, student loan beneficiaries are not getting the needed support they should get. So they want government to, as a matter of urgency, stop the implementation of a new formula that would ensure that only 39% of the GET Fund levy is being allocated to the GET Fund. So if this happens, it means that we're going to have about 61% of the GET Fund levy distributed to other sectors, which they believe is not going to augur well for the country. Okay. So we first of all spoke to the executive director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who says that they are going to continue, this campaign to ensure that the right thing is done. This is what he has been telling us.
Okay. Had a lot of these activities a lot of the time when we've seen issues being resolved. And so we are optimistic that officialdom will listen to us. We are not talking to the Minister of Finance. We are talking to Parliament. We are asking Parliament not to approve this year's GET Fund formula. The formula will be before the House in the next couple of days. And we are asking Parliament to reject the formula and then not approve it until the Minister of Finance excuses GET Fund from the campaign law. So we are not talking to Kenneth Ayaka. We are talking to Parliament that they should reject the formula that is being presented until the Minister of Finance does the right thing.
All right, so that is Kofi Asare, who is the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. And in conclusion, so beyond the petition and the holding placards in front of Parliament, what next do they intend to do?
Yeah, so they intend to continue picketing at the Parliament House until the Education Committee, does something about it. Actually, while receiving the petition, the Chairman, Kwabena Mankwasiama, mentioned that they've already started some stakeholder consultations and discussion, even at their level. And then the ranking member as well, Honorable Peter Nochukotwe, also said that, capping it right now is no. So they are going to ensure that the right thing is done. But on the side of NUGS and EduWatch, they will continue to press home their demands.
All right. Thank you very much, Christian Yale. It's fascinating that you have a fund set up purposely for education, but then majority of that, or percentage of that fund is used for something else than education. In subsequent bulletins, Christian Yale will bring us details of this particular story or subject. You're still watching Midday Live on TV3. Now let's do one other big one, which has to do with your pockets. That's the Gold for Oil project that government has been undertaken in the last few years. So oil prices clawed back some ground on Thursday after sliding to 15-month low in the previous session as markets claimed somewhat after Credit Suisse was thrown a financial lifeline by Swiss regulators. And information we've gathered indicate that globally the price or cost of crude is coming down gradually, but then in other places it's seeing a marginal increase as well. And this volatility brings into sharp focus Ghana's decision to use our gold resources for oil. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia yesterday, addressing a section of the Ghanaian public, indicated that the country has benefited, and it's on the back of that that fuel prices have started coming down, or is expected to come down further. And those of you who visited the pumps, I'm sure, may have also seen some reduction thereon. Let's engage an expert on this and find out really, are we on the right track, or what do we need to fix to make sure that we do not, reverse the gains we've made as a country. Joining us is Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, an energy expert, joining us all the way from Oman. Good afternoon, Doc, and thank you for your time. All right, so kindly unmute for me so we can hear you clearly. Now, the international finance market, yesterday, for instance, around the U.S., the Silicon Valley Bank in the U.S., we woke up to the fact that due to the drop in crude prices, had some shocks, and then they had to close down, or they had some difficulties. Then yesterday, the Swiss bank, or Credit Suisse yesterday themselves also had some regulatory challenges, and fortunately they have a lifeline. On the back of all of these banks having a challenge because of global crude fluctuations. What is the position for Ghana, or does that have any impact at all on how we're also playing within the sector of getting oil for ourselves?
Yeah, definitely, Martins. I mean, whatever happens within the global space, the cascading impacts, I mean, the cascading effect locally is always there, and we know that. You know, we always say that we have three category of factors that enters into the price build-up or whatever the consumer pays at the pump. And the global prices of the commodity is a chunk of it, including our exchange rate. So let's zero into what is happening globally. Martins, crude oil actually plunged just yesterday in record, phenomenally, dropping from the 80s to the 70s. In fact, it tried to touch, Brent actually touched around 72 yesterday until, this liveline was tuned in and it started to pick up. Now, this is not usually one of the fiscal fundamentals on the ground, which we've been talking about. In fact, prior to this, most agencies, renowned agencies such as IEA, International Energy Agency, they all predicted that, and Goldman Sachs, they all predicted that, and myself from the beginning of the year, I predicted that oil price will likely be in the 80s within the first quarter. So this came as a surprise. So this is typically not one of these ones. It is just a financial system induced, plunge. And what is happening is that crude oil prices are hinged on financial frameworks. And so once the confidence within these financial frameworks are waning, as a result of this phenomenal collapse of, Silicon Valley, bank, as a matter of fact, two banks actually collapsed. Just after Silicon Valley, another bank followed. And so when financial system is losing credibility within this faster rate, investors will normally exercise what they call abundance of caution. They will begin to withdraw their investment, they'll begin to pause, there will be some inertia. And so this kind of effect is what is trickling into the plunge in entire commodity prices. Yes, it's not only crude oil prices, actually the entire commodity prices are plunged. And so what needs to be done is just to bring back the confidence, because it's not the physicals on the ground that is being impacted. In fact, on the contrary, the physicals on the ground are robust. China is not ready to go back to the, to easing out. I mean, they are not ready to go away from the zero COVID policy. Yeah. There's a projection that demand in China will go up. So yes, the physicals are very robust, and so it's only this financial system induced. So once confidence comes back to the market, I believe the market will rebound back, and that's how come the prices are going up again. Okay. But coming back to the question, let's say in Ghana, let me just narrow it in to Ghana. Definitely, yes, we're going to have effect in Ghana here. But of course, this effect will trickle into the next window, assuming it is sustained. In 70s, once we have it sustained within 70s, Martins, we are likely to get a single digit, maybe probably, or closer to a single digit in the next window, if we have it this way. But I want to throw a caution that this decrease is not on a strong footing. Once confidence within the market comes back, we may likely have the oil prices coming back again to the market, I mean to the 80s, yeah.
Right, okay. So let me just try and be sure that I understand all of what you have said, that certainly there is a linkage between what happens globally and what happens locally here in Ghana, and that if these financial issues are resolved, the crude oil prices, which dropped close to the early 70s, almost $72, per barrel, if it stays that way, here in Ghana, we are likely to start buying fuel at, single prices instead of like 12 cedis. We can come to probably 8, 9 cedis. Right, that aside, if you say that if confidence in the financial system starts, regaining or coming up, that also has influence, and we could lose this ability of buying the crude oil or Ghana fuel at between 12 cedis. Try and simplify it for us. How is that likely to translate if our pricing now is between 12 cedis, 13 cedis? At what point is it likely to drop further or go up based on international developments?
Yeah, so you've summarized me better, Martins. Great job. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that it's not only the crude oil prices. So assuming it stays there, in fact, even within the 80s, if you look at what was happening in Ghana, it was largely due to our exchange rate volatilities. The cedi was quite weak because it couldn't hold grounds against the major currencies. That was actually why we had that. So even with the 80s and with stable currency, it will be okay. So the caveat is, if we are able to maintain the stability on our currency, I mean the cedi, and this international drop sustain, we're going to have drastic reduction at the pumps. I can guarantee that. Wow. So these two factors are very important. I mean, the stability of our currency and then the potential for the global oil prices to stay as it is. Now, it's a double-edged sword, like I said. As much as we don't want oil prices to drop drastically, we don't also want it to skyrocket. But at least it should be at the point where both consumers and and suppliers will benefit. So coming back to Ghana, yes, the benefit will come provided our currency is stable, Martin. That is the caveat. If the currency appreciates or gets stabilized and the global dynamics maintains like this, definitely we'll have a reduction at the pumps.
Doc, thank you so much. It's a conversation I'm sure we'll be having much more of similar conversations. Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, there's an energy expert joining us all the way from Oman. So do let us know what you've experienced when you went to the pumps to buy fuel. Has the price dropped or is still the same? We'll be happy to know. Vice President says the gold for oil policy is what is accounting for all of this. Well, we'll see how all of this pans out in the coming days. Meanwhile, we go into the Ashanti region where the minister of that region is proposing an extension of the shutdown of the redeveloped KJTIA market. This, according to him, is to allow thorough investigation on what caused Wednesday's fire. More than 30 shops were affected with thousands of Ghana cedis worth of investment lost.
We have security risk, and I'm the head of security in the region. So my preoccupation is whatever security risk we have, we put in measures to arrest that security risk. You know, it's not all the things we can do within the short term, but there are some we can do immediately. For instance, I'm going to check why the sprinkler did not switch on when the fire started. I don't think it should take months. We can look at it today, tomorrow, and see what we can do. Smoke detectors, maybe if they were not functional. Do we need months? You don't need months. There are some of them we can put in place before we ask them to come back. Because you don't know. If you ask them to come at 12 o'clock, and around 12 o'clock, another fire starts, and the sprinklers are not working, what happens? So anything that borders on security, that one, as head of the Regional Security Council, I can take decisions before reporting to anybody. The first thing is that it must be closed for minimum 3 days so that we look at them. If you look and we cannot solve the basic ones, it could be even extended to maybe 1 week.
So it's been a long night for victims of the KJTIA fire incident, and we are even told some of them had to pass the night around just to make sure that everything is in place. Several shops have been destroyed. This morning we've been able to count about 33 of them, and mostly traders here deal in combustible material. So maybe that's how come the fire was that intense yesterday.
All right, so that's Ibrahim Abubakar earlier today when the minister visited the place. He's still with us to find out what exactly are the views of those traders who've been affected. Ibrahim, good afternoon, if you can hear me. So we've heard the minister. What has the response been from the traders?
Well, the traders are not happy with that because most of them are still in shock. Some of them confused because for now, they do not even know whether they have been affected or not. And others who want to also see the extent of damage, whether they will be able to salvage some of their property. So just a few minutes ago, a number of them from there, they were insisting that they should be allowed in there to at least see for themselves what was happening. You know, yesterday, when the management issued a statement, they said the market will be shut down from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. So they were hoping that by 12, the place will be open up for them. Just a few minutes ago, I'm told that all the markets or the victims who left there have been able to enter because they were piling pressure onto the police to allow them to enter. They are not going there to conduct any trading activity. In fact, the minister himself, when they engaged the leadership, he later decided that, well, they can allow them to go there and assess things for themselves, but not to conduct any trading activity. For trading activity, looking at 3 days or even possibly 1 week. By that time, the fire service personnel have been able to get ample time to conduct their investigation. Currently, we have fire officers in there, we have police personnel also in there, and we have those who are also, they are workers of the facility trying to tidy up the place for the traders to be able to come back. So far, we've been able to count since morning when we came, 33 shops have been affected, and others too, we don't know because the place has not been opened up to see whether indeed the items there have been affected or not.
All right, Ibrahim, thank you so much for that quick wrap of what's been happening at the KJTIA market in Kumasi, which was gutted by fire yesterday. About 30 shops affected. Subsequent bulletins will update you on what next line of action will be taken, both by the traders and the city authorities in ensuring that that does not recur. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Stay with us. We have business, sports, entertainment all coming up right after this.
Pepsodent is aware that globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. That's why by giving her Pepsodent, you're not only protecting her teeth, but also helping her grow up and thrive at every stage of her life with a healthy and confident smile, so she can succeed and achieve all of her dreams. Because every smile matters.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chese na me ankasa me period na se problems wom tina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chese na nya asem ketewa na me point no mo hwe me mogya mu no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra mienu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nu a ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you of Acrobato. Hello hey ohwehwe what che okay e free bra wo di end point wa dance am me call you no me Johnson sema na enkoyie empeso na my emre nyina na magina sebema na me no be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. I'm free.
No matter where.
The capital is always tuned in their offices.
You have been to AFC before, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. In their retail centers.
Even in their busy marketplaces.
Oh, should that some quality like what? And in their cars.
Even in their homes and in their rooms, they listen. The capital is always tuned in.
Yes, we run the city. Hill 3 FM 92.7.
Your Urban Lifestyle Radio.
Join Giovanni and AJ Sapon on 3FM Drive 92.7 Monday to Friday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. We run the city on 3FM 92.7. Your
Welcome back to Midday Live on TV3. Time now for business, and we've been joined by Sani Abdulrahman to give us the latest in the world of business. Hello, Sani.
Hello, Martin.
You're looking good in your black and white.
Thank you. It's Ghana month.
It's Ghana month, yeah, certainly. So what's happening in business?
Of course, following the domestic debt exchange program, you know, a lot of banks have incurred losses, and We are seeing some foreign banks with participation in Ghana offering some support to recapitalize their Ghanaian unit. And the big question has been, what of the wholly owned Ghanaian banks? Where will the support come from, especially because the government stability fund is yet to be operationalized?
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so you give us the details of that.
Well, thanks so much for your time on business. My name is Sani Abdurrahman. We start from the banking sector because 5 commercial banks operating in Ghana could receive $427 million to recapitalize following losses they incurred from the government domestic debt exchange program, according to Bloomberg News Agency. Standard Bank Group, First Rand, Absa Group and Nedbank Group have collectively set aside $267 million to account for the losses, impairing as much as 57% of local and onshore dollar-denominated debt holdings. Standard Chartered PLC has set aside $160 million. A rare move to restructure local debt. Bondholders exchanged 87.8 billion cedis of bonds that paid an average of 19%, with papers returning as little as 8.35%. The exchange resulted in losses for financial institutions. The government is restructuring most of the country's public debt, estimated at 575 billion cedis, to finalize a $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. While the banks with foreign mother companies receive support to recapitalize, wholly Ghanaian banks may suffer as the government stability fund is yet to be operationalized. The cost to local lenders will only be known later, given the stock exchange allowed them to delay releasing financials. Away from that story, the Institute for Economic Affairs has admonished President Akufo-Addo to place the nation above his partisan interests as it laments the country's slow pace of development. The IEA said this had been the trend in the Fourth Republic, arguing it has only benefited the political parties and not the people.
5 presidents since 1992, 5 times the nation has run to the IMF for support. Yet again, the nation is seeking a seized bailout from the IMF to avert a full-blown economic crisis. According to the Institute for Economic Affairs, the development will continue unless the country's leadership desists from borrowing and spending to appease their political parties.
We need a leader that will not be captured by his party, so that he will do things that are in the interest of his party and not in the interest of Ghana. Hopefully that right leadership will emerge, one day.
The IEA's Director of Research, Dr. John Kwachi, lamented President Akufo-Addo's refusal to downsize his government despite calls from all quarters. Such defiance, he says, only hurts the economy.
It looks like we have chosen to focus more on debt restructuring and less on the adjustment. The IMF doesn't care. You can undertake entirely fiscal adjustment. If you can achieve the same purpose, they will accept it. But our government is not prepared to undertake the very strict, strong adjustment, reducing the size of government and all that. So they are focusing more on the debt exchange, and that's what we are saying. That's not acceptable.
We stay a while on the economy because inflation is still very high for many, despite efforts by the Bank of Ghana to stabilize prices. In the month of February, 5 items had their prices increased by more than double, with some 15 items having their rate above 80%, which is almost twice the national average. My colleague Dela Michelle has been looking at how prices of household items have changed between January and February.
Items regularly used by households remain the main drivers of inflation. The rate of inflation for February appears to have come down marginally from 53.6% in January to 52.8% in February. But if you spend regularly on the items I'm going to list, then your rate of inflation will be much higher than the national average of 52.8%. Let's look at granite. Granite has the highest inflation of 161.9%, a further increase in February, followed by palm oil with a rate of 123.3%. Then sunflower cooking oil with a rate of 118.2%, coconut oil with 111.6%, then diesel with 109.3%. Items such as fish, underwear for women, petrol, sanitary pad, tampon, washing soap, millet, groundnut oil, and sugar have their inflation between 99.1% and 91.2%. Baby food had an inflation rate of 89.5%, followed by wheat flour with an inflation of 89%. Instant noodles, bathing and toilet soap, sardines in vegetable oil, goat meat and spices had an inflation rate between 88.3% and 83.4%. So depending on how often you use these items, your rate of inflation could be higher than the national average.
And that's all we have for you this afternoon. We'll be back at 4:30 with more analysis from the world of business. Do make a date with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
The COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective. I encourage all pregnant women to go in for the vaccine. And to add to this, I have a beautiful bouncing baby girl who is a year old now.
Remember, we are not safe until all eligible persons are vaccinated. Protect yourself, your family, and your community. Get vaccinated now.
Right, so time now for sports, and Oreko Ampafo has joined us in studio for the latest. Hello, Oreko.
Hi, Martin.
All right, so what do you have for us?
We'll be talking about Christian Atsu, who officially gets buried tomorrow. That's Friday.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, may his soul continue to rest in peace. Give us the details.
Definitely. But on Friday, March 17, Christian Atsu's final funeral rites will be held at the forecourt of the State House here in Accra. The former Newcastle United winger was confirmed dead earlier this year following an earthquake in Hatay, Turkey. He featured for the Black Stars during his short-lived career, playing from 2012 to 2019.
Is it? Flies in the back of the net. It's 2-0. That's number 7, Atsu. Christian Atsu will score the first goal for the Black Stars.
Let's now cross over to the forecourt of the State House here in Accra, where my colleague Bill Ishun is standing by to give us details of what is happening on the ground. Bill, if you can hear me, how far were the preparations for tomorrow's event?
Period for Ghana football. In a few hours, Christian Atsu's final funeral rites will be done here at the State House here in Accra. Now, Atsu, who used to play for Newcastle, Chelsea and other clubs, was under the rubble in Turkey and did not survive. Now, work has commenced at this particular place with canopies being set, with chairs being brought in, and decorations having started. Now, the people who have been on the ground have already given the update stating that they expect to be done with everything by the end of day today.
Say the trusses, it seems like this 2 days ago that we started, and then the normal canopy we started this morning. Will be done around 12 to 1 that way. we are just hoping for the best. It is very painful that Achu was not able to, come back to come and play the Black Star match again, but all the same, God knows what is the best. So we are just looking upon God.
Now, the Ghana Football Association Executive Council member, that is Nano Odro Safo, he stated that he expects a number of dignitaries, and one of them will be some officials from Christian Achu's former club, that is Hatayspor in Turkey.
We are expecting the last club he played for in Turkey. The officials, I think 2 of them are coming. And there is another club called Vetem Ahios, or I forgot the name. I just can't mention European names because they are also sending somebody to come with a brush wreath in their colors to present.
It is, of course, a sad period in Ghana football. And, of course, a lot of people have been saddened by the incident that has happened to the late brother and the late footballer, Christian Achu Trasam. We only hope that his family stays strong in this tough period.
We'll stay with 3 Sports tomorrow on Friday as we continue to bring you all the coverage that you need as Christian Achu officially gets his final funeral is set to take place in Accra. We'll be bringing you that live here on TV3 tomorrow. But to some more stories where Gianni Infantino has been re-elected as president of FIFA for 4 more years after running unopposed at the Congress of the World Football's ruling body. Now, the 52-year-old Swiss-Italian lawyer was confirmed in office by acclamation at the gathering in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, on Thursday.
Thank you very much. I prefer to stay seated so I don't risk to fall down. Let me simply thank all of you, my family, my wife, my friends, my team, all of you, the FIFA team, the council team, the committees team, the member associations team, the legends team. I would have loved to be a legend as well. All those who love me, and I know there are so many, and those who hate me, I know there are few.
Let's now head over to Rwanda, where my colleague Thierry Nyan is standing by to give us more insight into the matters. Thierry, it's a pleasure to have you here this afternoon on Midday Live. We know that the big story coming in is that Infantino has been re-elected, but has there been any other details that have been outlaid by FIFA during this Congress?
Yes, you rightly said so. Infantino re-elected as president, and he'll continue his mandate as president after his first election in 2016, also re-elected in 2019, and then now unanimously accepted as the president of the world governing body of football, and he's going to continue that until 2027. But besides this, there's also been the continuance of the suspension of Zimbabwean Football Association. Remember, last year, sometime February, FIFA stepped in after Zimbabwean government decided to dissolve their football association for allegations of corruption and sexual harassment on female athletes. Now, what it means is that after the 119 member associations voted in favor of the suspension to still hold, it means that Zimbabwe will still not participate in anything organized by FIFA, and also will not receive any funding, from FIFA as part of the obligations, to the member associations. And also remember that Sri Lanka are also in a similar situation. They were also, their suspension was also maintained. What you also need to understand is that, the World Cup expansion is holding as it is. FIFA is making sure that there is more inclusion when it comes to the World Cup. And Infantino explained that the likes of Mohamed Salah in Egypt were not there. Sweden with all their superstar players were not there. Colombia wasn't there. And a number of great footballing nations who were not at the just ended World Cup in Qatar. And so this is all to bring the world together even better and more. But of course, there have been concerns. And the concerns are that it means that there are more games for players, more games for the national teams. And it just doesn't speak well of the health concerns and awareness of FIFA, with regards to these footballers. So there is a lot that has been agreed here, and I'm sure we'll bring you extensive updates subsequently right here on CBT.
Much for joining us here on Midday Live. That's how we wrap up the sports here. My name is Ori Kwampofo. If you're after some more sports stories, you can follow us on social media at 3SportsGH. Up next on the Bulletin is entertainment with Noella.
And powered by 3 Entertainment.
Hello. Good afternoon. Let's do some entertainment updates here on Midday Live. My name is Noella. Now, versatile Ghanaian rap artist Lyrical Joe is all set to drop his latest album titled Photo Album. The VGMA Rapper of the Year is expected to hold a listening session for the 18-track project, which features some amazing talents from Ghana and Nigeria. Lyrical Joe has been sharing the inspiration behind the 18-track album ahead of the launch.
I don't dance slow, but I'm on TikTok. Go down and pose for the picture.
So this album, Photo Album, I decided to name it Photo Album because I really wanted to paint pictures in the music, pictures of where I've been to, where I am now, and where I'm going to. That's why I really named it Photo Album. So, and this is the first time you're going to have a photo album without pictures to look up, a sound to listen to as well. I have exciting features on there. I featured MDK on Judas, EL on Flex, Daco Vibes on Blessed, Safa on cover.
Lyrical Joe described the album as a great project, noting it comes with a lot of relatable and soul-touching tracks.
And these are songs that I'm really, really excited over. And, one of my favorites will be Amen as well, because it really is, it's a soul-touching song as well. So it's a great project, that's what I can say. And this project is one of those projects that I packaged so that when people look back, they'll be like, yeah, this is one of the albums that dropped that year that was really, really great. Tomorrow on the 17th is when the album drops. It's going to be everywhere. It's coming out exclusively on every streaming platform.
The well-rounded rapper also touched briefly on his beef with his colleague rapper Amarado and whether he has intentions to work with him in the future.
Would you do a feature with Amarado?
Definitely I would. I mean, I don't see any problem. That is good music. If it's good music and we have to collaborate on that, we will. I will. To be real and honest with you, we haven't spoken in person ever since after the whole back and forth. But maybe we will. Justice to freedom. If they ask for my language, tell the people I speak wisdom. And if they ever write the Bible again, then I'll be on. A wise man with the songs, The Return of King Solomon.
Now I'm definitely looking forward to his track with EL. And that's how we wrap up on entertainment here on Midday Live. My name is Noella. Up next, international news.
Nigeria will hold its first census in 17 years in May. The Information Minister Lai Mohammed has announced, citing delayed governorship elections. The census for Africa's most populous country was initially scheduled for March 29. The elections for new governors was pushed by a week to March 18. The results of the census determines the sharing of oil revenues and political representation. The country's population is estimated at more than 200 million. It is expected to be the third most populous country in the world by 2050, according to the UN. The United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration (NASA) has unveiled the first prototype for a newly designed next-generation spacesuit. The spacesuit is specially tailored and accessorized for the first astronauts expected to venture back to the moon's surface in the next few years.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to a close. Thank you very much for spending the last hour with us. Our website, 3news.com, has details of all the stories we brought to you and several others. My name is Martin Asiedu Date. Have a good afternoon, and as always, stay positive. Bye.
Yanara Sassini, airport in my Mojana Nanum Shegu Naditu, my
Mark your calendar.